Sitting here as a young, aspiring dreamer, so to speak, I'm always fascinated when I meet living legends like you, and I always want to ask them: did you choose the entertainment industry, or do you feel like the entertainment industry chose you?
I wish I could say I chose it. I was born into it. Yeah. My parents, my great-grandparents, my family are singing people. I was born into it, basically.
I mean, having seen a production like Lion King on Broadway and having experienced it in various other countries, there is a thread about it that stands out in terms of how it's portrayed around the world, in terms of its sound, in terms of how it's structured. What do you think, or what is the one aspect about Lion King that you believe has made it such an incredible success?
There's always a hard one to answer anywhere in the world, because the first and simplest and most authentic, true answer to that question, which is hard for me to answer, which is hard for me to answer, because thank you. Ooh, love you. The honest truth about the success of the Lion King, yes, fine, thank you, is the South Africanness of it. Now, when I say the South Africanness of it, is Lion King and Ali three critical DNAs. Russell spoke about the storyline, which is a global story. The essence of it is the South Africanness of it through music and through the work that we've done in the movie. And critically, equally the same, a presentation of African content to the global community in the highest quality possible in history. And that then goes along with my other favorite subject matter that makes the Lion King such a great phenomenon. The amount of money invested to create quality means the sustainability and longevity of this product is there forever. Because most people don't understand how corporate America functions, especially in the entertainment industry. The competitive nature of corporate America is dollar-based before talent, actually. As a young guy, I was privileged to hang around certain people, and I remember one of the few important lessons I learned from Quincy Jones is, excuse my language, you're going to edit this, who gives a fuck about your talent? Nah? But the metaphor there was, if you consider the following, that in this room, everyone is talented. Nah? So something else, especially for us South Africans, you know, South Africans, we have the most unique style of singing in the world that most people don't know. Whether it's choral or solo, when we're not trying to be American. Nah? We have the most unique style of singing. Now, if all of us South Africans sing the same, what then makes us stand out is beyond talent, is intellectual capacity, which in our community we have to build. We need to figure out how to build intellectual capacity, lawyers and businessmen focused in the entertainment sector, especially music, because the core of our talent is in music. But you don't have enough black businessmen, black lawyers that even understand or appreciate the business of the arts, or even know that actually it's the most lucrative business. We think the sexiest thing is mining and all of that, because there's more money made in this business if you have black people that understand, appreciate, and love the business. So that's what makes the Lion King critically unique. It's the first African content in history with an investment 21 years ago of over $26 million. Now when you convert that to profit, and in the 50th anniversary of the Lion King Broadway production, Disney, who owns the property, announced $7.8 billion gross profit. I don't know how many times I've said that in South Africa. It's like it doesn't rain. The guy was Chinese, or someone invested $25 million on African content and created the highest quality and made $7.8 billion and still growing. So that's the answer.
I mean, I read in your interview on DestinyMan that you were out in exile in Lesotho, and you wanted to build a career like Marvin Gaye, and become this huge soul sensation. So my question is, when you started out with this project, did you ever see it coming to the point where it is, in terms of its globalness, or in terms of how it has impacted the world, how it's shaped careers, how we have so many success stories that we can kind of bring out from it?
At the point where we start doing the Lion King movie and then the Lion King Broadway show, the idea of being professionals was already instilled in me growing up in exile, but mostly growing up in Los Angeles. But I think critical to that, I think people like the end story. I like the beginning story.
Okay.
But most people don't know, Lion King is my 4th or 6th film. Before the Lion King, my first movie actually is The Power of One. Yeah.
Mr. Zimmer.
Yeah. My partnership with Hans Zimmer starts with The Power of One, and I think I did Dinosaur and started partnering with other people. So Lion King is the 5th or 6th movie. It is then the most success.
Yeah.
But the real, I guess, question whether I'm in South Africa at that time at 16 or in Lesotho, and then America, is one of my greatest, the things I like talking about that most Black South Africans don't like talking about is, my greatest asset is poverty. The idea that I was born into a not so privileged environment, not only within my family. When you then convert that into survival in Lesotho and the things that you have to do, because when we left here with my friend Werner, went to Lesotho to America, then you end up in Washington DC, Syracuse, New York. Ironically, I'm about to go to Syracuse to open another Lion King production, and Syracuse is the first city I lived in.
Sure.
All those first 12, 13 years is nothing but poverty.
Sure.
Is living in Los Angeles. You know, when we left Syracuse to go to Los Angeles in 1983, 84, we were promised a big dream to be stars. When we landed, we were homeless. I lived in the streets in Los Angeles for 2.5 to 3 years.
Sure.
You know, so that's long before the first gig.
Wow.
The first gig comes by default, because as I was saying earlier, we went on tour, Lebo Tatekaipas, on a product called Bua throughout Africa. When we came back from tour, I was kicked out of my apartment by my first house because I came back poor and broke. So I had to leave her, but it's true, I think. Yes. My first wife kicked me out, rightfully so, because I went on tour to Africa for 8 months and came back broke. So I lived with another friend of mine who was going to school at UCLA in his couch for like, I think a year and a half. The MK Manifest. You get a scholarship. So from MK, you start doing your McDonald's, the taxis, and you know, I was the best valet driver, and the best dish. I made the best sandwich at Sister's Restaurant.
Sure. To finance the dream.
Yeah. And then, of course, from there, you get a call or two. We always are trying to figure out what the big break is long before Lion King. So it's either between Power of One or when Jonas Gwango was nominated for an Oscar.
Sure.
For a movie. He was based in London. I was a kid now hustling studios, doing commercials, and I was called in to put together a choir for the Oscars. Fortunately for us, we were able to assemble the best choir, and then I arranged the music, not knowing how to read music.
Sure.
I was working with an orchestrator of the Oscars, and we became the highlight of the Oscars on the Cry Freedom nomination soundtrack.
Yeah.
So from there, then Joe Zawinen, who was the leader of a band called Weather Report, was in the audience. He called me the next day, and I worked with Joe Zawinen. Hans Zimmer was a big fan of Joe Zawinen, so he heard that there's this kid that just worked with Joe Zawinen.
Sure.
Then I got called in, and as they say, the rest is history.
Wow. So I want to fast track, and I want to be a bit Gizoba personal, so to speak. Me. How do you build your young businessmen like myself in the room, aspiring in the entertainment industry? How do you build such an incredible global brand? What are the nuggets, maybe 2 or 3 nuggets of building a successful global brand, maybe an intercontinental brand, then an international brand moving forward?
The second thing I learned out of a million others is why I keep alluding to the sad and unfortunate state of our mindset when it comes to the creative business. In America, and I don't want to sound like why is it much about political America? Well, in America. Let's not say. But because when someone gets discovered, whether it's becoming a television star or your first record deal or a Broadway star, there's a system that kicks in immediately. Immediately. The minute you sign a contract and you're going to make, say, more than $500,000 minimum, which means you have the capacity to make $1 million, which means you have the capacity to make $100 million. There's a system that kicks in. First, a business manager, second, a lawyer.
Yes, sir.
It's like, this is taught in high school in America.
Sure.
So it's just automatic.
And for us, we have to still catch up.
Yeah. The opposite is here at home. No, the reason for that, by the way, is because it is acknowledged by the system and the industry that you have the capacity to bring in money with your talent alone. People's jobs, livelihood, everything around you, they become specialists at it.
Yeah.
There are people who become specialists at picking up your shoes from here to there, and they are happy with it. And there are people who become your lawyer specifically for your royalties. There's a lawyer for your soundtrack.
Yeah.
So there's that system, automatically, because that system acknowledges one thing, that this talent brings in money, and he has to be paid well. In order for us to make money, the only thing he has to do, take a freaking shower, eat some food, and be in the studio, and don't be stressed by anything. There are even managers to look after your wives, if you have more than one, your kids, everything, serious. So it's, in short, it is an industry, and it's a business industry. The opposite here, a guy like me or you has to call the radio station to get their own interviews, don't know how to read a contract, and don't know how to count money. So it's the opposite. That's why my dream and my passion is that our responsibility, not business and politics, our responsibility as talented creative people is we have to figure out how to convince business and legal infrastructures and politicians that we are a lucrative investment.
Finally, we can go on the entire, absolutely. So finally, before I close this short conversation, we're celebrating 20 years. One of the highlights, obviously, of your interview with DestinyMan is that Lion King is celebrating 20 years, and you have the rights, and you're going to be producing it in terms of it coming back to South Africa, 2020. Take us.
Well, that's what you want lawyers. You can't say stuff like that.
Oh,
right.
Please correct me.
We're negotiating.
We're negotiating rights for it. Thank you. So you're in negotiation of bringing this incredible brand back.
I'm kidding, but this is my younger brother, so I gotta share something with him, man. That I've learned. But yeah.
So you're bringing back this brand.
No, you think you interrupt.
Oh, go for it.
Take my seniority thing, the age still going on, so I can interrupt you. When I'm negotiating, even after you sign a contract, there's no deal until the money gets to your account. That's all. That's all I wanted to interrupt you with. So what it means really is, it doesn't matter if we're negotiating or we sign a contract. I haven't seen $7.5 million in my account to come to me and say, yeah, we own the rights. We own it when the cash is in the account.
So I'm a man of faith.
True.
So I'm a man of faith, and I speak from the position of faith. It's done already.
Yeah, faith moves by cash also.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Take us through the process. Take us what we can expect. I know there's a huge investment that's going to come into the country, building new talent, putting new performers on stage. There's a lot of scoring, there's a lot of work that's going to go to bringing this thing together. So take us through what the highlights of what people can expect in this incredible project coming back into the country.
What I almost forgot to say, which I was using Brazil as a catalyst for some of the things that sometimes it's very hard to explain. The impact. It's one of those things that the impact will be realized 30, 40, 60 years long after we're gone. On this production, what I can say for sure and confirm is we are 99.9% finished casting. Yeah? The infrastructure takes, we have plenty of time to do that. So I'm pretty sure by the end of this year we'll announce the new cast. Yeah? And critical to this, why is it sometimes about 7? So because you want to say, because some of the things I want to say, man, it's like, I want to say like in a village setting. Yeah, because some people, I'm trying to fire some people, you know, so we can solidify certain things. So when if they get this information, I get fired. And we are about to announce the first ever Black MD of the Lion King production in history. You know, the significance of that will never be realized in this country. But me insisting on that, you know how meetings happen in the world we live in, like people connect, you're in London, so there's a video in your office. No, that's Skype, and that's like the technically advanced offices that have this big TV screen in the boardroom. Yeah, the significance of this, the war it took to put this brother in this position long before we really decided that we're going to start casting. People were flying from one country to another to secure this thing. That is because hiring the first black South African as an MD of the international company, every MD that has been in existence for the last 20 years' job is at stake. 1. 2, we identified, and I personally wanted to hire more than a musician. The former CEO of the Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra is now our first black MD of the Lion King production internationally. Yeah. So that means I don't have to go around the world teaching people the proper pronunciation of Ingo Nyama, Nengwe Namabala. That is, some of the lyrics here are really powerful, that, you know. And I wasn't smoking weed then, and I'll never smoke weed, I never smoke weed. So Shadrach Bokaro, it's my greatest joy and my greatest pride. He's actually our first MD. And the reason you go for it, you know, when you're competing globally, don't go for like, so make it impossible for the other guys to say no. So he's qualified administratively. He ran the Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra successfully for more than 5 years. And then, before Lion King, as a CEO and a conductor, he's done Phantom of the Opera. So he's more global than all the MDs of the Lion King South Africa put together in the last 20 years. That's why next time I go to Johanna, what was said Shadrach is overqualified. And what that means now is the next Lion King, I'm able to go to war, and Shadrach will back me up, like actually Sillo backed me up. During the war for the Lion King South Africa, Sillo, Mike and Somizi, we were seeing it on stage, rehearsal. The war backstage for control of the Lion King South Africa while we're rehearsing. Sure. That means some of us know once you secure that, it's easier to then see you or someone like you be MD in Australia, in Japan, and anywhere else. That's the process. So that's my biggest pride right now, which is our pride and the legacy growing.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for everyone one more time. Thank you so much.